welcome back. This is the Leftovers chat, 6 years later, Leftovers chat. I've by my side for always and forever, Benji over in England. Say hi, Benji.
Hi.
And I'm Ethan. I've seen the show a lot. Benji has not seen the show. I'm trying to keep it spoiler-free for him. Sometimes that's hard. We just watched Gladys and spoke about it. We are back talking about season 1, episode 6, Guest. Before we go on, I want to make sure that Benji is staying pure. Have you watched past Guest?
No, I haven't. No. I was very tempted to because we took a couple of days break, but I held back. So the minute we finish this podcast, I'm on to the next episode.
Okay. Cool. Before we get started, as always, what did you think after the gut punch that is Gladys? What did you think of Guest?
Yeah, well, I think the problem with this one is that it comes after Gladys, because Gladys moves the plot forward in such such a big way, and there's a lot of progression in all them elements of the story with the characters that we're coming to know. And this one kind of breaks that. And so while, I can recognize there was a lot to like about this episode, but for me, I just wasn't a huge fan of it, which is probably unfair because I'm not really judging the episode on its own merits, but rather, I'm not judging it for what it had. I'm judging it for what it didn't have and what it was missing, which was, the guys that I'm really invested in: Kevin, Matt, Jill, Tommy, and I'm so kind of excited to get back into their story that it was a little frustrating to have them sort of sidelined for this episode. So that was my thoughts immediately after watching it, which doesn't really say a lot about the episode itself, but rather, I don't know, my only kind of issue was that it meant I had to wait a little bit longer to get back to the story that I was really coming to get excited about.
That's okay. I accept that. That's a take. It's one I haven't heard before.
Yeah, and I mean, that being said, the episode itself, it was a good episode. It was interesting, to follow her journey and see a lot more depth to her character than we've seen yet. And it's definitely laid a lot of groundwork for moving forward. There was a lot to like about it.
Well, this one was the one where I was going to start breaking it down by different characters, because I thought there was something for other people in this, but there's nothing for anyone in this.
Mm-hmm.
You have a little bit of Kevin at the beginning and at the end,
mm-hmm.
And it's straight Nora. And I think it marks another turn in the series where we spent these 5 episodes building this world, right? And so now we can dive a little bit deeper into, well, it's more world building, but into the characters. And there's a lot of episodes like this. We've already seen a Matt episode, and now we have a Nora episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get into it. I love it. Oh, by the way, I wanted to introduce you to, before we start, I wanted to introduce you to Benji. I would like you to meet Carrie Coon. She is the actress who plays Nora Durst,
mm-hmm.
and she's just amazing, I think.
Yeah, I can't argue with that so far.
So we start off with Nora Durst is giving interviews for her. She works for the DSD. We start off with Nora giving interviews for the departure benefits. She's asking very personal questions. She's asking about suicide and drugs and alcohol. We see her routine to a very heavy music theme going on, very Leftovers-y. She's she's stalking the preschool teacher who cheated on her husband, or who committed infidelity with her husband. She goes to the grocery store. She buys groceries that she's not going to use, boxes of cereal that she throws away with, leaves them unopened and throws them away. She stares for a long time at the paper towel holder, and we get flashes of her family laughing, and she's remembering those times. She calls an escort to get her to shoot her when she's wearing a Kevlar vest, a bulletproof vest. The escort is not really into it, but she talks her into it with an extra $1,000. She says she wants to shoot her in the chest. I'll help you, just, above her stomach, but just below her heart. And she turns on the heavy metal music. And some people know what that is. I don't want to even try to throw out Iron Maiden or Slayer or whatever it is. I do not know. And the escort shoots her. I don't know what music it is. The escort says, "What happened to you?" The escort shoots her, runs away with the money. It looks like Laura is out for the count, but she wakes up with a heavy breath in, and boom, credits. So another effective use of the cold open with credits, I thought. Mm-hmm. After the credits, Nora is getting her marriage dissolved. She tells the judge her children have also departed. This is the first time she tells someone her children have been departed. She says it a lot in this episode. I think she does.
You mean the first time she tells someone that, or the first time we see her tell someone that?
The first time she emphasizes it to someone in this episode.
Oh, okay. Right.
Okay. And every time she tells someone, it gets her that little extra push in her favor. Mm-hmm. She tells the judge their husband committed infidelity, and she says, as a matter of fact, when asked if she wanted to change her name, "I would like to remain Nora Durst." And I picked up on that. She runs into Kevin. They have a weird conversation about their families and getting divorces because they're both getting a divorce at the same time. Nora offers to take Kevin on vacation to Mexico. He goes, "Oh, I have a daughter." And Nora says,
Was it not Miami? Was it Miami?
Was it Miami?
Yeah, I think it was Miami.
Nora offers to take Kevin on vacation to Miami. Kevin says, "I have a daughter." And Nora says, as a matter of fact, without even thinking about it, "F your daughter," which is a bit shocking and insensitive. But then she realizes that and runs away in embarrassment. Anything about them in the courthouse? Just kind of matter-of-fact scene, right? Nora goes?
Yeah, I didn't make many notes of that.
Okay. Nora goes to work, and her boss questions her about her readiness for her appearance at the panel at the work conference she's going to. And then she is questioned about the way she presents question number 121 on the survey. The question is hidden from us. It is implied that she mentions what happened to her with her family departing. She said she would never do that. Her boss asked her how did she answer on her surveys, and she says she answered yes all 3 times. It's another instance of her throwing it out there about her kids and getting a little bit more extra sympathy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was trying to look at the questionnaire to see what question 121 was, and I had it paused, and I was trying my best to read it, but I couldn't make it out. So I thought, all right, then I'm going to have to wait, because I know they're going to come back to this, but I couldn't get the jump on it.
Yeah, and, when you're watching it, it's obvious that they don't want you to know yet. Welcome to the Departure-Related Occupation Conference. Nora arrives. I assume that's New York City. She's met with chaos and protesters. A GR member gives her a fake grenade, which she doesn't know, which she drops. That says a lot. Kind of to everyone's state of mind, I think.
Yeah.
Unless she has some super secret training to know exactly how much a grenade weighs, that's not going to work.
Yeah, well, I don't think she does that type of government work.
Right. So. What do you think of this scene out here with all these protesters?
It kind of reminded me of when I was in New York and you're walking through a place like Times Square and you're sort of you can barely move because of how jostled in you are when it's busy. And but there's a good vibe to it, and it's the vibe that everybody's there and it's busy and everybody's kind of enjoying being there. This felt like the same thing but completely flipped, where she's kind of it's a big city, she's pushing through big crowds of people, but it isn't crowds like you might expect in a big city, people out shopping, people having fun, people having like a day out with a girlfriend, their family. They're all out here just to kind of protest this one meeting. So it's definitely kind of a reversal of what you would expect to be going on in a big city like this.
Well, being here and being to New York, being in America and being to New York, probably more than you, I assume. It's very, whatever is going on in New York at any particular time is the big talk of wherever you are. So if you're there one day and it's the NFL draft, it's just littered with people in jerseys and badges for that. If there's a World Bank protest, the city is full of that. So I see this as some standard New York things, but because it's the departure and because it's such a fervor about this, with what we'll find out later, our conspiracy theories and everything going on, it's at a fever pitch with crazy things like people just giving you a grenade. Do you know what I mean? So you have GR, you have, all these people, I'll talk about them more. You have Holy Wayne salesmen out there. So, New York is like that kind of all the time.
Yeah. And when I went, it was a baseball game, the Knicks maybe, and so you had people in all their jerseys and
that's basketball.
Forgive me, in their apparel, sports apparel, and their caps, and they had their Knicks caps on. And I guess you're right. I didn't look at it that way. This is the same, except they're wearing their departure caps, so to speak. And in that way, I guess it is just another day in New York or whatever city it was in.
Yeah,
it was New York, right?
I think it was. Okay, so and just as an aside, the very first time I went to New York, this was before or during the great, Disney cleanup of Times Square, but before everything happened. It's both very scary if you're like living out in the country like I thought I was to come to the city. It's also very exhilarating because I guess you see things that you would never see before, and it's the first. There's crazy images. I could go on forever about that first trip, but I won't. We'll get back to Nora here signing in. She has to sign the code of conduct for her hotel. We see that the new hot book out is What's Next by this guy, what's his name, Patrick Johansen?
Yeah.
Nora's badge is missing. She gets really upset. She's a legacy. She's got multiple departures and multiple orange stickers. Therefore, she gets special treatment. And man, this lady is rude and no help at all. She's like, just go in there.
To New York.
Yeah. But it's like, oh, I'm sorry for your loss. Go find your other orange stickers.
Yeah. And I should mention, as has sort of become my unofficial role over the last few episodes, I've been trying to point out instances where we see things that are lost. So we had like the baby Jesus, we had Christmas decorations that were lost, we had Kevin's shirts that were lost, and another item that's gone missing, and it's Nora's, I don't know, what do you call it, badge, card.
Lanyard.
Lanyard, yeah, it's lost, and so there's another one to add to the list.
What doesn't go missing in the show? Kevin Garvey's eyeliner. That never goes missing. Anyway, in the mixer,
and I never miss it.
Yeah, right. In the mixer, Nora meets the slick sales guy, the loved one salesman. We see Holy Wayne's pitchman in there too, and I like to point this kind of stuff out. This guy's an actor named Tom Noonan. He's a character actor, Hall of Fame kind of guy, and I know him mostly from the movie Heat, which is a Michael Mann movie, and he was in another Michael Mann movie called Manhunter from the 80s, and that's actually the first Hannibal Lecter movie made before Silence of the Lambs. They remade it into Red Dragon, but Tom Noonan was the bad guy, spoilers, in Manhunter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I recognize another actor, although I recognized him, but I couldn't figure out who he was. And it was the loved one salesman. He had a very familiar face. Do you know where he's from?
Did you see the Netflix show Maniac?
No, I didn't.
With Jonah Hill? I know he's in that. He's been in a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do some homework. Next episode, I'll let you know where I knew him from.
Okay. So Nora's walking around. She's looking for someone that might have her lanyard. We see the types of meetings they have at this conference, and a gentleman is up there with pictures of David Koresh and other cult leaders. And she sees a woman who is looking at her strangely. She thinks that person might have her badge. The lady goes into the restroom. Nora chases her, only to find out that this was a lady that Nora had lashed out at last year at the convention. And she did not remember. She tried to apologize and say she was having a bad time. And the lady says, "Yeah, you're doing a lot better."
Yeah.
Which she's not.
Hey, I forgot to mention, when Nora was in that room, when she first walks in and people are having the conversations, you see the loved one salesman, you kind of get little snippets of conversations that are going on. There was a really good line I spotted, which was, it was this one guy, it was pretty quiet, but I caught it, and it was, he was saying something along the lines of, "Hey, they can deny it all they want. North Korea lost people." So it was just kind of funny to know that even in this world, the leftovers universe, North Korea is still North Korea.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I didn't catch that. That's good. She gets another glimpse of Holy Wayne's guy in the elevator, and it seems at this point that guy's trying to heal people too, which was kind of weird. Nora gets into the elevator, and she walks right into the middle of the party that the loved one sales pitchman is throwing, and basically double dog dares her to come to the party, and she gets let into this world that she was never a part of before, the people that aren't legacies, who aren't treated special. And she gets a sideways view of how those people see the legacies. And, they're pretty mean to them. When they're handed it back, they call them the oranges, right? And they only know her as guest, and they don't try to get to know her name at all. They just know her as guest, and they call her guest. And I guess she uses this opportunity to get down at the convention. She takes some prescription pharmaceuticals someone is passing out, and she lets loose. People discuss, while they're partying, people discuss the DSD and how it's a scam, and things we kind of figured out already about insurance companies. They're just trying not to pay out. They're asking questions. They're asking questions they wouldn't ask a person if, say, they got killed in a boat. Say if a loved one got killed in a boat accident, right? So at some point, she gets into a conversation with our salesman, and he gets this opportunity, and this is what makes a good salesman, right? He gets his opportunity to show off his wares without, with doing a sales pitch without people thinking he's doing a sales pitch, right? And he shows a loved one doll, the one that is in the form of him. It is a very high-end loved one doll, ones that cost $40,000. They've taken pictures and home videos. They've even got some of his scars. And after a little bit of conversation showing him the loved one, he asks if he can kiss her, and she says yes. And then she straddles the loved one doll and kisses the loved one doll while everyone is chanting, "Guest, guest, guest." And the next morning they're chanting, "Shame, shame, shame." Game of Thrones joke. Okay. Anything about this party scene? Have you ever been to a party like this?
What, a watch where somebody tried to sell me a full-size replica of their body?
No, man, the party where people are taking stuff and doing all sorts of things on the floor, then complaining about government agencies.
No, not as yet, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not. I'm going to go with it is a good thing.
That you haven't?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm into the good ones. Okay, that's cool. Let me write that down.
And I'm not ruling anything out yet, but yeah, I noticed as well in the elevator scene that Marcus, he delivers this line where he says to her, basically, do you want to be like the rest of these guys at the conference, dead and depressed? And he specifically uses the word dead. Or do you want to come with us and be alive? So he's asking her, do you want to be dead or do you want to be alive? For me, that was a little nod back to the cold open where she's sort of stuck in between this world of she can't decide whether she wants to be dead or alive. She's getting shot, but she's wearing the vest and she's living. And she seems to be in this kind of in-between place where she can't figure out which side of it she wants to be on. And this here is kind of calling her out on that, like, make your choice. Which side do you want to be on, the alive or the dead side?
And it's one of those things with getting shot in the chest. It's like one of those things. I just want to feel something, right? So, shoot me so I can feel something.
Oh, yeah, I know. Sorry, I did actually just do my homework early, and I looked up Marcus, and I figured out where I knew him from. He's an actor who plays the part of it's like a mortgage salesman or mortgage broker or something along those lines. But he's in The Big Short. Have you seen The Big Short?
Yes, I have seen
and he's one of those kind of like young guys who's selling mortgages to people who shouldn't really be getting them and giving them properties, and he's getting commissions and buying himself boats, and he's got no idea really about he does have an idea of what he's doing, but he's just kind of a bit of a scumbag who exploits people. So I'm not sure how different he is to the character in this.
But he's got sleazy salesman locked down, huh?
Yeah, he's got it to a T.
The next morning, Nora is kicked out of the hotel for causing a disturbance in the hotel bar. Once again, she says, I'm a legacy. I'm supposed to be working here today. And the guy's like, I don't work for your conference. I work for the hotel. She goes to a paper store, like a copy store. She gets a fake badge made. Even at the fake badge place, she's like, I work for the DSD. Like, it's supposed to mean something to the copy guy, right? She gets lots of orange stickers. She goes back to the hotel. She is quickly picked up by security and convinces the hotel manager by again relating the story of being a legacy that it was not her at the bar last night. And this is something that comes up again and again. You'll see sometimes these odds. Nora's good with numbers. And when the hotel manager says, oh, what are the odds of her losing her whole family? She knows right away. It's 1 in 128,000.
Yeah, and if we do the maths on that right now, if we're going to say 7 billion people, so it'd be 7 billion, let me just pull that up, 28,000. And the result of that would tell us exactly how many people like Nora there are. I thought that might be an interesting little exercise. I'm just going to double check that I got that right before I tell you the result. Okay, according to the maths that I just did now, so I was in a rush, I may have got it wrong. It says 54,687 people.
So 55,000 people about have lost more than one person or like many people around them.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the criteria Nora was using to determine that number, whether it was whether she was using people that lost 3 people or people that lost their whole family. I don't know which of the two she was referring to, because that would be a different number, right?
Well, she can't speak for the statistics, right? She can't speak for the statistics of the DSD. She asks the questions. All the answers are figured out at their headquarters in Annapolis, Maryland. Maryland shout out. Once in the conference...
Yeah, sorry, there was one that I was going to talk about earlier, which was just before she goes to that coffee shop and gets the badge printed. As she's walking out of the the hotel where they're holding the conference. It's about a minute, 30 minutes in, 24 seconds, if you want to look it up. She walks past a guy who, looks and kind of nods friendly in a friendly way at her, and seems to be in a pretty good mood. And I believe that's the same guy that we see the Holy Wayne salesman talking to in the elevator. So when you put those two scenes together, we can kind of surmise that the Holy Wayne salesman or Holy Wayne himself has healed this guy.
Okay.
And he seems to be another little proof of Holy Wayne's ability.
You're right. It's the guy that tips his hat. I think it's the same guy. I think you're right. I never got that. Good spotting. Okay, so now they take hotel security into the conference, right? And we do find out that there is, in fact, an imposter. An imposter claiming to be Nora Durst, who is another protester, who is letting everyone know that they're blind and they're part of a machine and it's all a lie. And then she goes on to say that the DSD is a scam and that all the questionnaires get sent to an incinerator, which is weird because the DSD just has data. What the government is sending to incinerators are cult members. So if this is like a open conspiracy kind of deal, so if they're actually sending people to incinerators, it's this kind of half misinformation thing that's happening. Like, yes, there are conspiracies, but there's probably so many that just a fraction of them are correct. But there are actual conspiracies going on, because this thing with sending the cult members to incinerator is definitely a conspiracy type deal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, on the whole, though, it was refreshing to see, for once that the person we're following isn't crazy. It often feels like the kind of easy way out in that situation would be for the fake Nora or the person impersonating her not to be there. I don't know. I feel like I would have been a little bit disappointed if they'd gone down that road, because we've seen that kind of thing done before. Not necessarily in this show, but as kind of
right, and
the convention used.
And she very quickly comes out and sees that she's caught and says, "I'm not Nora Durst.
Mm-hmm.
You all people are blind." And I'm wondering if she was waiting for a moment, for Nora's moment to speak, and then would say that.
Mm-hmm.
So Nora's proven right. She is given the keys to the hotel bar, basically, to go and sit there. She's kind of won this battle. She sits to have a drink, and she sits down next to Patrick Johansen, this guy who wrote the book. And, I didn't write down what he said. He told her some story about his daughter and how his daughter starts smiling again. And if she can do that and not feel guilty, then we can move on. Nora has an epic takedown of this guy. Tells him why he's BS. Tells him that there is no moving on. There is no happiness. There is nothing next. Also points out the fact that he counts his parents who are in their 70s, and you shouldn't discount people that age, of course, but, it's kind of a tragedy to lose two children as opposed to two older people. It's a bit more, some people would say. So after she talks to Patrick Johansen and causes a scene at the bar, she's fulfilled her prophecy of causing a scene at the hotel bar, so she did do that. Yeah, I was going to say, not only that, but we see that moment in the bathroom when she talks to that woman from last year who says that she kind of lashed out at her last year, and it looks like she's done it again this year. So it seems to be it's not a departure summit if Nora Durst doesn't go nuts at one point. Sure. And she is approached by Holy Wayne's man, and she gets taken up the creepiest looking building with the creepiest looking guy up to the creepiest looking floor into the darkest floor, and where she comes to some guy on a laptop, and they say, if you want to go in, you got to spend $1,000. For what? Well, if you want to know, that guy who wrote that book came in here, and then he came out and wrote that book. If you want to know what's on the other side, You got to pay the $1,000.
Yeah.
Quickly.
And it's a really, really, really cool shot. The framing when they get to kind of the top of that building, you see down the corridor into that room, and I think there's a guy standing there. That was an epic shot.
Kind of shot like a horror movie almost.
Mm.
She pays that money and she walks in this room and she sees someone she's never seen before, but we have seen in a tenement type room. See Holy Wayne, tired, with his muscle shirt on. And, what follows is one of my favorite scenes of the entire series. It kind of shows the emotion that can come from this show, I think. Just saying, like, what this guy must look like to her and the things that can happen to women in situations like this, what she must have been thinking all around that, mixed with her emotions and everything. Just give me a thought on that before I head into what he says to her.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know we've been speaking this whole kind of podcast about the Holy Wayne salesman, and we were sort of talking about that from the beginning, but I should mention that it was only at this point in the episode that I realized that, Holy Wayne was involved. I hadn't realized that up until now. So it was a really cool moment for me when I saw that. It sort of made the whole episode. Because I know I spoke at the beginning about how I found it a little bit frustrating to be focusing so completely on Nora's character that we sort of don't see any more development of these other plot lines I've become quite invested in. This is obviously an exception to that because this is Holy Wayne coming back in, and it was something I was not expecting at all, and it sort of made the legwork of sticking with Nora this whole time really, really pay off in that final episode, final scene. And I do agree with you there. It was definitely one of the better scenes I've seen so far, and I guess, thinking about it, it did justify the approach that this episode took to get to that place. It just wouldn't have been the same if this scene had come about as the result of an episode where Nora's story is interwoven with the others. I feel like it had to be. We had to be with Nora from the start in order for this scene to have that impact that it does have on us.
Yeah, and it's beautifully crafted, right? And just the way this goes, he's really out of it. He really doesn't care. He says, when she looks worried, she says, "I don't give a shit about you. I've already got your money and I'm fucking exhausted." And you believe it. You really believe he's tired, he's exhausted, he's doing this because he's on the run, but it's a talent he has to do it. He can tell. When he can tell how much pain she's in, he turns on a dime. Do you know what I mean? He's seen it before. He's done it to millions of people probably, or thousands of people. And he knows how to turn it on. And he really turned it on. And he really got to the heart of what her problem was. And, it's hope is weakness, and you don't want hope because you think you don't deserve it. And then he says, "You do deserve hope. I have seen my death and it is coming very soon. So this is your last chance, your only chance." So the question remains the same. And it's the question that the salesman has been asking everybody. Do you want to feel this way? And she says no. And then the next line is the two lines that kill me every single time. Will I forget them? And he says never. And then they hug. And, again, even watching this to talk about this last night, the room got a little cloudy for me.
Well, it definitely reminded me of, I don't know how many people listen to this are fans of fantasy books, and an author in particular called Brandon Sanderson. It may be a little ambitious to try and get some crossover here between The Leftovers and fantasy epics. But there's a book, a series of books by Brandon Sanderson called The Way of Kings, and one of the characters in there is one of the main characters. He's called Dalinar, and it deals with a very similar theme in that he, obviously spoilers there, so please turn this off if you're currently, reading The Way of Kings. I don't know how many of you that'll be, but if you haven't read it, don't listen to this. Dalinar deals with the pain of the fact he inadvertently caused the death of his wife, and he's dealing with that pain and that loss, and that's his backstory. And then he's able to go to I think it's like a creature who can grant him a wish, and he sort of just he wishes to forget them. And so we start with Dalinar, and he doesn't have any of this pain, and he's sort of, he's fine because he can't remember. But as the series goes on, he starts to remember, and the pain starts to come back, and it's a really tough process for him. But at the end of it, he's more glad to have the memory with the pain that comes along with it versus the place he was in when he'd forgotten. I think I probably need to check that, but that's more or less the gist of it, or at least what stuck with me. So it definitely reminded me of that, and it's a question I'm sure a lot of people have wondered at one point or another, which is, would it be better to forget or remember? And I don't know, I feel like the answer is almost always to remember, which is agreed on here. Wayne says you will remember them, but I still felt like this route that Nora took, I know I'm not in a position to judge her, but it's a little bit frustrating because we've already established with Tommy's character, he doesn't accept Wayne's help. And so we've kind of come to expect from our main characters that they're going to have this healing process that's going to happen through their own kind of merit and their own work, and they're going to be the ones to create that growth. And the fact that she goes down this route and sort of shortcuts it, I didn't know how to feel about that. And I was kind of a little bit disappointed, if you will, because I was looking forward to see how Nora manages to dig herself out of that hole that she's got herself in. But she doesn't. She chooses to go with Wayne. So that was, I don't know, there was, I mentioned a lot there, but there was a lot going on in this scene, and those were some of the things that were sticking out to me.
That's a really good point. And in my experience, doing the work is where it gets you where you need to be, and shortcuts don't ever help. Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure you can ever really substitute that. So it would be interesting to see if her taking this, I don't want to call it the easy route because it's obviously not, but the easier perhaps route, whether that's going to be, whether that's going to come back to bite her later down the line. And exactly how easy of a route does anyone have if they suffer a loss like that, no matter what? Mm-hmm. Is it a question of, getting better or dealing with it for the rest of your life because it's there? Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like losing someone. It's like someone very close to you passing away. Does it get easier over time? And that has to do with the kind of person you are and what you can do with it. So we see her smiling. We see her new shopping routine. We see, thank God, that the preschool teacher is no longer getting stalked because apparently she had to look out because Nora was there, looked like every day. Mm-hmm. But she wasn't there. I don't know how she knows that Nora went to a work conference and she's back now and she's still not showing up. But whatever. She's not buying all the extra groceries. And she gets a call from Matt. She doesn't take the call from Matt, and I think that's a boundary she's setting now. She thinks maybe I'll talk to him later, but we're still good on that. Kevin knocks on her door. It's nice to know that he just looked up her address. It's not too creepy, using his police powers for that. Mm. Yeah, I was going to say earlier that Holy Wayne's the creepiest part of this episode, and the Holy Wing salesman, because they were definitely creepy, but I gotta say Kevin takes the cake out of that move. A man showing up in a police uniform and lots of mascara, right? Letting you know he doesn't take it personally. Well, I mean, that's kind of a really, if that happens on any day of the year other than Halloween, I think you're in trouble. Right. Except in the world of the leftovers. She apologizes for saying F your daughter. They actually set a date. And he goes, "You should know I'm a flippin' mess." And the last thing we see is her doing another Survey question 121 is revealed, and man, it's a doozy. In your opinion, do you believe The Departed is in a better place? And the person she is asking the question of says no. And that's the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm. So there's clearly, obviously we've seen many indications of the changes in Nora, but that's the one that we've established at the beginning of the episode. There's definitely been a precedent where it was like every single time she asked that question, people would say yes, apparently. And here we see she asked it and they say no. So at the very least, we can see that something big has changed within Nora herself. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it's possibly due to the fact that, in her previous interviews, it may have come up, the fact that she'd lost 3 people. And, inadvertently, even if she hadn't meant to, she may have made that kind of a part of the role she played as interviewer. And I'm guessing people that are answering that question, if you know that the person sat opposite you has lost 3 people to this departure, you're not going to be eager to say, I don't believe that the departed people are in a better place, because you know the impact that's going to have on her. So I might take it as a sign that this person's manager know that she's no longer bringing up her kind of legacies, as they call it, the 3 people that were departed, because it's people are now having the confidence to say no without being afraid of hurting her feelings.
Would you say that when asked about it by her boss earlier in the episode that she lied to him?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm not sure about. Because it didn't sound like she was lying to me, but the only way my theory that I just established now, the only way that makes sense is if she was. So who knows?
Well, it's a good question to ask, I think. And with that, I think we're done with this particular episode. We're going to meet again soon and talk about solace for tired feet. I just want to thank anyone who's listening for listening. I want to say thank you to Benji. Oh, but before I sign off, so in your episode power rankings, let me write down.
I'm gonna try and make sure that I don't contradict myself here, because I'm starting to lose track. The more episodes we get, I'm starting to forget where I ranked the previous ones.
Okay.
I guess that's fine. I can change my mind if I want to, but I'm gonna try and go with what I've said before, which is right now I believe episode 2 is sitting at the bottom of the pile with the pilot at the top, and then between that, I'm going to say Gladys was just above episode 2 for me, just because of how difficult it was to watch. And then we had this one, I would say, with Nora. Again, like I said at the beginning, just because of the fact that I was kind of looking forward to seeing where the other stuff went, the other plot lines. Having had this discussion, though, I am starting to get an appreciation for the, the opportunities we get from these character-driven episodes. We managed to kind of take a look at so many aspects of their life and their kind of mental place where they're at, that it's really a kind of a valuable opportunity, and we don't get that in the other episodes quite so much. So they are definitely growing on me, and I've got a feeling that we're going to have more, so that's a good thing. So just above Nora then, we had episode 4. Above that, episode 3, the one that focuses on Matt. Again, I don't want to contradict myself, because I know at the beginning I complained about the character-driven episode, but I love the one with Matt, so maybe it's more the fact that I preferred Matt's character to Nora's, I don't know. And then at the top, still the pilot.
And that's great that you're seeing the good things that can come from the character-driven episodes. I will say one thing moving forward to you. I think that you can consider, and I'm sure I'll double back on this at some point, right now you can consider the world built.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We have things to get to, things to take care of, and we know the world we're living in. we've seen the ripple effects of this departure everywhere, to the industries, to the people, to the government. And now it's time to have a little bit of fun, leftover style.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I will say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully we can meet real soon. This is still a lot of fun for me. I'm still really enjoying it. To our 2 listeners, thank you so much for being there for us. And we'll see you guys soon.